Hey babes, I'm Ireland. I'm back. And I want to start this channel off right and tell you more about myself before I start talking to you um, about photography. Because I feel like when you guys know a little bit more about me and my background, it's going to help understand why I make some of the choices that I make when it comes to my business, and why I do some of the quirky things that I do that you'll learn along the way. Okay? So I want to take you all the way back to the beginning because I've had my camera in my hand for about 10 years, and then I've been in Boudoir almost 5, which is insane to think. So I want to take you all the way back to the beginning so you kind of have an understanding of why I picked up the camera and how it kind of got me here. So I started photography in high school. I took a class my sophomore year, second semester, for photography. I signed up for it as something to take home to my dad because about 6 months prior we found out that he was super duper sick, and I grew up with him talking about light and color theory and all these different things that made no fucking sense to me. So I was like, all right, Ben, I can do this. I can take it home. It's something we can do together. Well, on the sad parts of stories, he actually passed away the first couple days of class. So that was awful. And I could have gone two different directions. I could have dropped the class and went on about my business, but I decided to stay in the photography class. And that rinky dink little camera actually turned into a therapy of sorts for me. So my whole world kind of blew up when my dad died. So my camera became my built in therapist. So no matter what the issue was, no matter how bad my heart hurt, or whatever I had going on, I'd pick it up, I'd go walk around in the woods, take pictures of random leaves, um, and trees and things. And by the time it was over with, I had a better grip on what I was dealing with and how to handle it. It's almost like it took the weight off me, and I came back with a clearer mind. And so I never really realized it. I didn't plug the pieces together until a lot later that um, my camera was my therapy tool. That was how I kind of separated myself from the feelings long enough to manage, I guess, because I was too worried about what my camera was doing and how to get the shot and the details in what was in front of me. So I followed those classes all the way through high school, and I took AP art and got my college credits for photography. I was supposed to go on a full ride for photography with North Georgia Tech. Life be lifing, and at this time, my husband and I had gotten together, and we it was not plausible to follow that route because it was not financially doable. That's the only way I know to say that. There was no way I could work a full time job to pay the bills and drive back and forth to Cleveland 5 days a week. It wasn't possible. So, with that, I started working for Tractor Supply. I was still doing photography, still kicking around, still doing all the things. And I had started that job and I worked there for a few years. So, fast forward to 2019, um, and into 2020. So 2020 was the year that I really found it. I was talking to my sister and I was like, "Hey, I love I'm doing these projects. They weren't much. They were just working with portraiture and people." And I told my sister, I was like, "I love the confidence that my clients are walking away with. Like they have so much fun. They feel so much better about themselves. I wish I could turn that into my brand." She kind of looked. She kind of said, "Well, why don't you do boudoir?" And I was like, "The fuck is that?" I was real confused. And so I started looking because when you first look into boudoir, you think of like the early 2000s. You think the white sheets, the shirts, the crispy, the commercial almost. And then on the other end, you could think of like Victoria's Secret and Playboy. Cause so you're like, do what? So I started researching and I started looking. I spent 6 months, and I shit you not, I had a binder about this thick full of notes, and plans and ideas and thoughts and anything and everything I could write down, I wrote down. And I told her, I was like, I think I want to do this. Like, I really think I want to do this. And so I spent more time studying. And after about 6 months, I set up a day 12 hours, 10 women, back to back to back. I had no idea what I was doing. I was raw dogging it. No idea what I was doing. But I wanted to try. And so I did. After the first one, I looked at Hannah, and Hannah still works with me to this day. We got done with her session, and I looked at her and I said, "I love it here." She said, "Oh, I know, I can tell." And so we still get together at least once a year, if not many, many more times a year. And it's really cool to kind of compare where I started with her compared to where we are now, which is really cool. Um, and so I started doing boudoir. Um, Looking back, I really had no idea what I was doing, like, not a clue. But I can see that the thought and the care was there, and that's what mattered to me. So I started working on this in 2020, and in through 2021. Keep in mind, I'm still at Tractor Supply. I'm team lead at this point. I'm a manager. I'm doing the things. Um, 2021 rolls around, and the folks that I worked with knew what I did on my downtime, but it wasn't a big deal, right? So, fast forward to the end of 2021. In the last couple months of 2021, my boss came to me with my Instagram on his phone and says, "What is this?" I said, "That's my art." He said, "That's not art, that's softcore porn." And I said, "No, it's not. That's not how that works." Um, and then in the middle of my store, in front of a planogram reset, customers and my associates in the store looks at me and calls me porn girl. I wish I could make it up. I wish I could say this was a practical joke. It was not. He took this very seriously. Um, so I, you know, let it roll off my back and move forward, until about a month later. He kept poking at me about it, but in the middle of a business meeting with one of my cashiers, proceeded to call me porn girl. That did not go well at all. I ended up quitting. I left the key with the assistant manager and I walked away. Did I have any clue what I was going to do? Fuck no. But I knew I wasn't staying put because I could not handle it anymore. So that was Christmas of 21. So by January of 22, I had picked up cabin cleaning just to fill. And I had a conversation with my husband. I was like, I want to do photography, but I don't trust myself yet. He said, okay, figure out what you need to do and do it. So I did. I cabin cleaned till about May. And by the time May rolled around, I was turning away more clients than I was taking because I couldn't fit it around the schedule that I had. So I backed away from the cabin cleaning and I trusted myself and I jumped head first into a full-time photography gig. Now, this is going to say something because there were days that I didn't work, and that terrified me as someone who worked every day of their life, all day, every day. I was like, what do I do with this? And it opened up more avenues to be creative and try things and move things around and do more research and play and bring in more models. So I had the space to do what I needed to do. And I also learned like connecting with people and um, really the foundations of business when it comes to connecting with women specifically. Um, and so from May to December, I was a full time photographer, going, rolling, doing all the things. And by December, personal life kind of imploded, but I knew I needed something else. If I really wanted to take myself seriously, I needed a studio. Well, I started playing phone tag because I know some people. And I found the studio that I have now. So I came and viewed it, which we expanded. If you've ever been here, you know we've got the big room, and then down the hall you have this room. They're set up in suites. So this used to be a bank, which was really cool. I used to work for a lady who had her business downstairs. So I already knew of this space. So I just had to find the phone number. And so we came up and I met them and I told them what I wanted to do and what my goal was. And they gave me an incredible deal. Like a deal that an insane person would you would not pass it up. Like I did not have a reason to not take it. Um, I cannot disclose the price. Let's just say it was real low. Real low. One session would cover a month's rent. Kind of low. So, and at this time I was hardly charging shit. So I pulled the trigger. I was terrified. I had no idea what I was doing in the least. I was making it up as I went, raw dogging it, figuring it out as we went. And the studio that I had a room off in my house that I was shooting in, and it had a wall of windows. So I had at least some kind of natural light to play with, which at the time was more complicated for me to get the vibe that I wanted. So when I moved in this space that has no natural light, I was so up creek. I was like, what the hell do I do? So I started researching, I started looking. Um, so in 2022, I started working on my lighting. I started trying to figure out what my style was in here, what I wanted it to be, what I wanted things to look like. Um, that bled into 2023, which I found out I was pregnant with my son, which was wild. So that year I put into my back end studying my how can I make my life a little bit easier. And then into 2020 and skin tones. I worked a lot on skin tones in 2023 because I had time to edit. 2024 rolls around and I start working like hardcore on visuals and what I want and mood boards. 2024 is the year that Calendar Club was born, which is insane. Um, and then fast forward into 2025, which is almost over. And this year has been a whole different breed. So to say it took time is not an exaggeration, because I went from not knowing to what I was doing to taking small chunks to hitting 2025. And this entire year, we didn't really guess, we didn't really question, we knew what we were doing, which is insane to say, because coming from someone who kind of had to educate themselves and figure it out for themselves, calling myself a professional seems strange. If you get it, you get it. I refuse to have an ego. So it's hard sometimes for me to really say, yeah, I did this, and this makes me something. Okay, so that's something you'll learn with me. And so this business year has really changed the game. We didn't guess, we didn't question, we knew, and we had it in the bag, which is wild to say. And so even just in 5 years, or 4 years, or five, it's technically 4 in the studio come January. Um, it's 4 years. Seems like a long time, but in retrospect, with as much building, as much work, as much back end that it took, that's not much time at all. And so being a young business owner in the market, you see a lot of things, and what's the word I want to use here? You notice a lot, and I think it is very much worthwhile to take the leap and trust yourself, but it's also like hard. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I haven't had blood, sweat, tears, and fears go into this business, because I have. So I tell everybody, everything will work out because I'm insane. I wish that was a lie, because some of my ideas are very out there. So I'm standing here as a 24, 25-year-old business owner saying, hey, I did this with my own merit, and I have learned some really helpful things along the way. Now, some things that I've learned might not help anybody but me, and then some things I have learned will help literally everybody. So now I'm standing here and I'm like, all right, I have all this knowledge in my brain. What can I do with it? Because I was raised by the parent that said, hey, knowledge is power. When you stop learning, you stop growing. So, in that, I want to take some of the knowledge that I have and kind of regurgitate it or share it with you. Not necessarily regurgitate it, but share with you what I have learned. And kind of let you in on the fact that, yes, I run a business, but no, we are not traditional. No, we are not serious. No, we are still a hot mess express. We're just driving the train instead of riding it this time. So that's my story. That's how we're here. If you know me in real life, no, you don't. And I think with any given journey, no matter who you are, especially in this art form, you're going to change, you're going to evolve, and you're going to grow. And that's the best part. So, now you have your introduction to me and how I ended up here. And now I'm gonna, go on and show you how I do all this other shit. So come along with me and see what kind of shit we can get into.